Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome to a very, very important and a video that, to be honest, has been brewing now for quite some time. In today's video, we are going to be discussing whether Barcelona, back in the summer, were right or wrong to sell Luis Suarez, and I think this certainly does need discussing, because again at the weekend, Suarez for Atletico Madrid fired in yet another decisive goal as they sit top of the table, whereas at Barcelona, the struggle for goals does continue, with our wasteful nature in front of goal really irritating all of us. But what does that mean about our decision to let Suarez go? It's all coming up in full in today's video. So let's get to it. Because first and foremost, this is going to be a video not just discussing one element of that argument, not just looking at the goals and saying yes or no, whether we were right or wrong. This is going to be the full breakdown of everything that happened and whether or not, in the end, the right decision was made regarding Suarez. So let's first of all get it out the way and let's look at the facts. Let's look down in writing the goals scored. Because honestly, it is damning when you compare Barça and when you compare Luis Suarez this season. Because Antoine Griezmann has 3 La Liga goals, Martin Braithwaite has 2, they've appeared in 15 and 13 games respectively, but between them, all they've managed is 5 goals in the league, whereas Suarez nearly double that tally for Atletico Madrid, scoring 9 goals in 12 games. And the thing about Suarez's goals too, they're not just empty goals, they're not just goals that have been stat padded there in big wins. He's been scoring big goals in big moments. You look at his goals recently against Elche, against Getafe, and at the weekend against Alaves, they were all winning goals, which has seen Atletico Madrid rise and stay at the top of the league. And that's certainly where this argument comes from. Were we right to let him go? However, as we know in football, and especially when it comes to Barcelona players, it is not all about stats and it is not all about goals alone, certainly there when you're talking about centre forwards. So what I have to make it absolutely clear and absolutely plain in today's video, Suarez has not turned into a different player overnight. We are not seeing here a reincarnation of Luis Suarez at Liverpool. He's not just turned back into prime Suarez overnight. And I think in particular, when you look there at his display in big away games. I'm looking there at the game against Real Sociedad away from home. When Atletico Madrid was struggling in that game, they couldn't win it. Suarez was ineffective. You look at their game, especially the one against Real Madrid. In the big derby game, Real Madrid ran all over Atletico Madrid and Suarez was completely again ineffective. And the same happened away in the Champions League, where Suarez still hasn't got that elusive goal. And away at Bayern, he was absolutely not in the game and he came off early. And as you will have seen, if you've seen any of those games, it was the same Suarez. The same Suarez that we saw last season. He is declining. He is getting on in his career. And his overall impact, he just doesn't give enough anymore. However, before we get too down on Suarez, one thing that he does guarantee, it is goals. And he has been that good throughout his career that even though now this is a player who's going to be turning 34 years old in January, he is certainly coming towards the end of what has been a sensational career. And although he's not the player all round that he used to be, he'll still get you goals. Because like I say, he is that good. And I think we're also seeing 2 different elements that we wouldn't have seen at Barcelona. Number 1, Suarez in an Atletico Madrid shirt this season, he is more motivated. You cannot deny that. That was one of the biggest problems that I had with Suarez at Barcelona. I felt as though he was allowed to get comfortable. He was in his comfort zone. He wasn't really pushing himself every single game like you needed him to do. And I think Diego Simeone, he was never going to allow that. Suarez here has had to come with more fire, and he has delivered much more in the decisive moments for Atletico. And number 2, I think also we have to admit here that at the stage of the career that Suarez is at right now, the fact that he is going there into his mid-30s now, he is certainly at a club who I feel are playing more towards his strengths. Atletico are a team there who are more direct, they're more physical in their approach. They don't really need Suarez to be too involved in the build-up. They don't really need him to get involved in the play, to be passing football, all of this kind of stuff. They don't really need him to be running in behind either. And that's very different to what we expected from him in the build-up and that all-round game at Barcelona, which, as we said last season, it wasn't good enough. And I think that's really, really important here. I think you can look at Suarez's form for Atletico Madrid this season, the fact that he has scored so many decisive goals, that he has slotted in there very, very seamlessly, and he's doing a great job for them. You cannot deny that, and I can respect that, and I can appreciate that, and I love Suarez as a player. I have done right throughout his career, but we also can't forget the past. I think we can appreciate what he's doing right now, but I think it will be very hypocritical for many, many of us to say, oh look, Suarez now, he's scoring goals, we should have kept him. It was a mistake for the club to let him go. Well, I think all of us at the end of last season, we were saying we need changes. We need to have some sort of change in this squad. And we had been saying that for many, many seasons prior to that moment. And that, for me, that is the crucial point of all of this. It's not the fact that we let Suarez go. It wasn't the fact that this summer we decided to sell Suarez, which was the problem, but it was the timing. It was the planning. It was the organisation from the previous board that once again, as they've done so many times, it's left us in a mess. Because I would actually compare this to a very similar situation regarding Ernesto Valverde, whereby people today, they say, oh, should we have kept Valverde? Was it the wrong decision there to sack him mid-season? Look what Quique Setien did, and all of that kind of stuff. But I would say again, it wasn't the decision to sack Valverde, which was the problem. It was the timing of it. You should have done it 6 months before that. You should have done it after the Liverpool game, not in mid-season. We waited too long, and I think it's a very similar situation with Luis Suárez, because as much as we loved him, as much as we still do love him even now, we had been watching Suárez deteriorate his form, his physique, for some time before everything came to a head in the summer. So you'd ask the question, why did it take that long? Imagine hereby if the board had actually looked ahead, done a bit of forward thinking here, and actually sold him the summer before then. Because then you could have actually saved the money from Antoine Griezmann. You could have got something in for Luis Suárez, and then you could have gone out and bought a well-renowned, well-oiled, well-polished centre-forward to come in and replace him. But no, we bring Griezmann in, who's not a number 9, we keep Suárez for an extra season, we try then to flog him in the summer just gone, and it is something there that has not been planned out, and it was an absolute mess from the start of the summer and everything that followed. Because Bartomeu, being the man that he is, being the coward that he is, he actually waited until a new coach was appointed to actually there get Suarez out of the door, because he actually let Ronald Koeman do the dirty work for him, and that's where it all went wrong. Because you remember, almost immediately after Ronald Koeman came in, he called Luis Suárez by phone. He actually rang him up there in about a 2-minute conversation, it was reported, and basically said, you're not wanted here anymore. We want you out, we want you gone, we are going to sell you this summer, you're not in my plans. And I think there, to actually get Koeman to call Suarez, a coach that he hasn't even played under for a single minute after spending 6 years at this club, that was the ultimate disrespect. And that is absolutely unacceptable. And quite clearly, from that moment on, Suarez, he was never going to make it easy. He was never going to say, okay then, I'm going to help you guys out, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to do it in a really good way. He was probably thinking, this is ridiculous. The way that I'm being treated right now, I'm going to dig my heels in, and they're going to have to really work to get me out of the door. And that's why it dragged on right throughout the summer. That's why in the end we had to pretty much insist that Suarez did go to a direct rival. He was saying, you know what, if you really want me to go that bad, I'll go to Atletico. I will go there and I will show you. Although I do actually wonder that if at any point during that summer a conversation was had with Ronald Koeman, because let's remember, he forced Suarez there to train away from the team. He didn't include him in any of the pre-season games. But I do wonder at some point there if it was actually said to Koeman that, you know what, it's not easy. We're not being able to ship Suarez out like we hope. It's not really happening in the way that we expected. So maybe, could you keep him? Could you actually play him? Will he be able to feature in your plans? But looking at what Koeman is doing with Ricky Puig, looking at the way that he is such a stubborn coach, of course, I think that door, if it was ever mentioned, it would have been immediately slammed shut. And hereby, Suarez has ended up at Atletico Madrid. And that's not the end of it either, because even at the end of it all, even the fact the board that Bartomeu did eventually get Suarez out, they did eventually move him on and try to look forward, they did it for all the wrong reasons. Because even now, they didn't ship him out, they didn't let him go for sporting reasons, they didn't do it because of the performances that he was putting in out on the field, they did it for financial reasons. Just in the same way that we got rid of Arthur Melo in the summer, exactly the same happened with Suarez. The big wages, they couldn't handle it. They themselves signed off on that wage bill, but suddenly they realised, you know what, we can't afford this anymore. And that was the classic Bartomeu panic stations, because then once he realised that Barca could not afford the wages of Suarez, they needed to get him off the books as quickly as possible, and that's how he ended up signing with one of our title rivals, and now he's thriving at Atletico Madrid. But what I would also say as well, it's not just the fact here that we let Suarez go, it's not just the fact here that we did it for financial and not sporting reasons, but the biggest problem for Barca, and what we're all accepting right now, is not the fact that he went, but that nobody was there to replace him. Because even as Suarez left, even though Koeman was going on about Memphis Depay, bringing him in, getting in a number 9, that was never going to happen. I think all of us following Barca over the summer, we could all see there was no money there. There was no chance that we were ever going to be able to bring in another number 9. And what that left us with is what we have right now. We have Martin Braithwaite, who was again another panic signing from Bartomeu. 18 million that we paid as an emergency signing to bring in. He is the only natural number 9 that we ourselves have at the club right now. And you've got 120 million on Antoine Griezmann, who can't really play as that out-and-out 9. And I think what we are seeing right now, what we have seen right throughout the season so far, is a lack of killer instinct, is a lack there of a world-class player in the opposition penalty box who can do some damage, who can score a serious amount of goals. And I think we were unlucky in some case, because obviously Ansu Fati was somebody who can play that role. He could start on the left and drift into that number 9 position, and he had been scoring goals. Of course, we shouldn't forget the fact that he was scoring before his injury, and he could have probably played that role and we could have got away with it. But look, these injuries happen. These things happen. As a club, you've got to be prepared, you've got to be organised for when these things happen, and from start to finish. From Suarez to the way that he was sold, the way that he was treated, the club that he was sold to, it is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that we're still cleaning up the mess, we're still picking up the pieces from the previous board and the previous management, it really does anger me. And it's something that the new board, they're going to have to come in, they've got a big rebuilding job. And that number 9 position, I don't think there's going to be money to go out in January and sign anybody. I don't really think we're going to be in a position to do that. But the new board, in the summer to come, in 2021, that is an area that we need to look at. Because no top team, no elite team on the European stage can compete without that quality in the number 9 position. We have to sort that out, or it will kill us. So please do leave your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Like I say, this, I feel, was a video that had been brewing for quite some time, and certainly there are going to be many different opinions about whether it was right or wrong to sell Suarez. In my opinion there, it was the timing, it was the way that it was done, and it was the fact that we were never ever going to be able to replace him because of the poor planning. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings down below. I will see you soon, of course, as Barca will be facing Athletic Club this week. Another game and another challenge. I'll see you then, but until next time, as always, Visca el Barça.